Wonderful day, wonderful day, wonderful day. This is your neighborhood sensei Fouché, and I am telling all y'all to stay woke. But always relax in the process. Make sure you definitely take notes. Beautiful, wonderful people, I am so excited that you are here and that you are listening to these conversations dealing with value, your value, worth, your self-worth, love, your deepest of love for yourself, authenticity. You no longer need those masks of the 7 sins, the cover protectors for the conscious con. You no longer need that. This is a welcome environment of an empowering embracement. And I honor you for valuing and honoring yourself. You deserve it. Every day is a wonderful day, for I cannot speak for others or even yourself, but for myself, I can't remember the last day I had a bad day. I have a streak longer than consecutive games played in baseball by the iconic Cal Ripken Jr. of the Baltimore Orioles. My streak is so long I can't even remember when it began, and I don't know when it's going to end, but it will not be anytime soon in any day as long as I am present in the now. I had a beautiful experience today. I had a few of them. I am going to note 2. The first thing that happened was, and just to be specific in my reference in notation, these days, instead of culinary art and being a cook / chef, I do delivery service. My back no longer, my knees no longer am interested in standing in long successions, not being extremely mobile, but more stationary. Like that stationary non-movement causes me a lot of lower back strain to extreme severity. So, I no longer do that, but the delivery game has opened up, and I did this before in the past, but in these days, the delivery game has opened up a whole nother level of comfortable communication and mastering the art of that comfortable communication. Upon picking up a specific order for a customer, they immediately reached out to me and asked if I could come out of pocket to purchase something that they wanted but did not choose to order this item through the DoorDash application. And the relevance of why they didn't do it really didn't matter. One thing I stated to the customer immediately upon request is that I comply by the standards of the application process. I don't go out of my own pocket to purchase items for customers in hope of getting some form of added income back. And it wasn't that I wasn't going to interest in her request. It was just a standard of procedure because everything is legal and liability is an important aspect when you're dealing with customer items and customer money. So I didn't immediately shut down her request. I just told her that I was not going to come out of my pocket to purchase something in her personal interest. So immediately after, she asked if I was in the idea of receiving money when I arrive and then going to the gas station store and purchasing the item for an added fee out of the change that she was going to get back. And I'm not going to go into specifics of the dollar amount, but she asked how much would I charge for her to have me do this request. Immediately, I thought of, I don't want to set the price because that is going to create a conflict probable in liability in doing business on the side outside of the platform, and all of this information is being recorded on the communication line. But I wanted to more see what she thought the value was in myself agreeing to honor her request. And she gave a price, and it seemed reasonable for me. So I agreed to go through with the request upon arrival. So I go and arrive to the location. She meets me outside. I hand her the item that she purchased initially for me to deliver, and then she handed me a specific dollar bill, and we exchanged personal information in regards to my phone number. I asked her to take my tag numbers for my vehicle to assure that I was going to hold my commitment into her request and her feel comfortable in not thinking that I was going to act in a form of dishonesty and just straight steal her money and just, never be heard from again in more probability. So I told her I would be back in no more than 10 minutes. So went to the gas station store, went inside, let them know specifically, what I was going to do coming in the business, because it was basically a refill of a drink. So I showed them the cup, told them, I was trying to refill this cup of a specific beverage, and what's the charge? So they basically confirmed the specific price. I went, filled up the cup with the specific amount of ice that the customer requested, filled up with soda, and I just told what the beverage was, but filled it up with Pepsi to be specific, and paid for the items and went right back to the customer location, and called her right before I arrived. She immediately met me outside. I gave her the soda, a straw, as well as her requested change, and also assured that the fee that she was going to honor, I was able to, keep or hold back. And that all went well. And in the next breath, she handed me another bill along with the leftover coin change, and thanked me and wished me a wonderful day. And I felt super duper excited about that moment, because everything worked out extremely well, and she was over gracious in her appreciation, and I fulfilled my commitment in all honesty, and did not take advantage of a time limit. So, it was a win-win, you know what I'm saying? And for me, it was just about seeing how someone else valued my time as well as my agreement to go outside of my responsibilities and honor a request. The second story that I have is the last pickup that I went to go and grab from the restaurant or the merchant. I wound up running into an old associate where both of our daughters were pretty familiar friends at a point in time. And not that they aren't, cool. You know how the whole kids thing go. And I don't really get over invested in that too much unless there is a requirement because of a circumstance that leveled towards extreme necessity of being addressed. So when I step in, beautiful tea. When I step in to the merchant, I immediately see this husband and wife couple, and they pretty much started their own business in the aspect of food. And I was asking them how everything was going with business, with life. They seemed extremely happy, but at the same time, somewhat troubled. And they were asking if I had any small suggestion in regards to some kind of help. And the first thing I did was really commend them for having the courage to continue forward in business ownership, and gave them the ultimate confidence in them being committed and seriously invested in these endeavors that they are trying to solidify moving forward. And I wanted to encourage them with confidence. And I know that they are able people that are extremely driven. And I had to make it my point to let them know that I acknowledge that in before as well as now, because of the information that they gave me in regards to their growing and expanding business. And I started referring to this wonderful novel that we have been covering in itemized documentation, and talking about focusing on the now and the many moments of committed work towards establishing a solidified foundation, as well as solidified systems for future employees to follow comfortably and in full agreement. And we must have spoke for about 15 minutes while I was waiting for the order to be prepared, because the business had a lot of walk-in customers at the time, and I wasn't trying to make these workers feel overcommitted into being rushed, for my purpose. I took the moment to have a very specific conversation with some wonderful people. And it turned out that the wife read this book, she said, like 20 years ago. And she was trying to encourage her husband to read it. And upon me giving her this conversation of comforting her security in belief to follow through and have the highest confidence that they will succeed in their aspirations of having this foundation of expansion succeeding. She automatically knew that more than likely I was on this level. And as soon as I mentioned this specific book, she said, I knew it. As soon as you started speaking specific words, I immediately started referencing this book that you are talking about, that I know of, that I read before, and I've myself told her I've covered a lot in recent moment and in current continuance as we're speaking right now. She already knew about this, and everything that I was telling her is referenced not only in here, but a lot of these other documents that we are going to cover as we move forward. And she was extremely thankful, and they both blessed me, and I felt so honored to share that moment and let them know that that moment was created specifically for that added encouragement in a very trusted person assuring their comfort and feeling secured in their choices and decisions in the growth process in committing to the foundation of business development for their continued elevated success. And I know that it's going to work out. It was a beautiful moment, and I also felt honored because the wife was referencing this book in necessity for her husband to also study so he could gain a higher level of belief and security in his choices, his commitment, and soon to be succession in total knowing because of the highest of belief. So, all that being said, we have been covering chapter 9. Beyond happiness and unhappiness, there is peace. And the reason why I opened up with that monologue was because I feel the greatest of joy when I am able to honor and assist others in the continuance of illumination in their processing past their impulsive thinking. So our subtopic into chapter at this moment is going to start at the nature of compassion. Question to scholar. When you become this detached, does it not mean that you also become remote from other human beings? So basically the question states, by no longer attaching yourself to worldly things, worldly objects, and worldly people, does that mean that you are separated or isolated from other human beings? And in response, in our information moving forward, on the contrary, as long as you are unaware of being, the reality of other humans will elude you because you have not found your own. Your mind will like or dislike their form, which is not just their body, but includes their mind as well. So if you are still in that limited self of thinking, you will not respect other human beings, understand their thinking patterns, and judge them. You're not in light. You know what I'm saying? You're not in your subconscious being. True relationship True relationship becomes possible only when there is an awareness of being. When you are in the state of enlightenment, those judgments, they're not required. To try to over analyze, which is to overthink into the reasons why or how, you won't even go that far. You will understand simply what is. And there won't be no personal desire to have a strongest of dislike or a like. There just is. There's no deepest of intimate connection in order for you to be so personally overdefined in identifying that person and having a specific label to define who you believe for them to be. Coming from being, you will perceive another person's body and mind just a screen, as it were. Coming from being, you will perceive another person's body and mind as just a screen, as it were, behind which you can feel their true reality as you feel yours. There just is. And you understand the stage of why it is. You're not going to overjudge it other than stating exactly what it is. And you more than likely have a base idea on why. But as far as the intricate specifics, you know that you are unaware of that. So when confronted with someone else's suffering or unconscious behavior, you stay present and in touch with being and are thus able to look beyond the form and feel the other person's radiant and pure being through your own. You will be able to tell them, whether they believe it or not, that there is a light in them. If they choose not to identify it, that is on them. But for them to know that it is there, whether they choose to recognize it or not in that immediate moment, is out of your control. For you to let them know that it is there, that you can control. And that is true. It's true that it is there. Yes, it is true that there is a high level of deception that is controlling their autopilot at the moment, but I am confident that they already know their miserable state. So you don't have to remind them of that. What you should choose to do in order to radiate your light is to let them know that there is a spark that is necessary for them to use, because it is extremely helpful for their benefit of self-worth, self-value, and self-love. One simple word, happiness. One other simple word, love, period. It can be your salvation. And it is available when you are ready. At the level of being, all suffering is recognized as an illusion. Suffering is due to identification with form. Compassion is the awareness of a deep bond between yourself and all creatures. But there are two sides to compassion, two sides to this bond. On the one hand, since you are still here as a physical body, you share the vulnerability and still here. My fault. On the one hand, since you are still here as a physical body, you share the vulnerability and morality of your physical form with every other human and with every other living being. Next time you say, I have nothing in common with this person, remember that you have a great deal in common. A few years from now, 2 years or 70 years, it doesn't make much difference. Both of you will have become rotting corpses, then piles of dust, then nothing at all. You do have something in common. You are both physical, you both were born, and you both will return to the earth in the form of dust. On the level of form, you share mortality and the precariousness of existence. Precariousness. Let's look that up, because, and I know what it means, but, for those that need assistance, precarious. Not securely held or in position, dangerously likely to fall or collapse. So, on the level of form, you share mortality and the precariousness of existence. You are likely to fall because in physical form, there is a finite. As far as spiritual form, there is everlasting light, everlasting life. On the level of being, you share eternal radiant life. These are the two aspects of compassion. But true compassion, as I have just described it, is a yet rare. But true compassion, as I have just described it, is as yet rare. To have deep empathy for the suffering of another being certainly requires a high degree of consciousness, but represents only one side of compassion. It is not complete. True compassion goes beyond empathy or sympathy. It does not happen until sadness merges with joy, the joy of being beyond form, the joy of eternal life. The body does not die because you believe in death. The body exists, or seems to, because you believe in death. Body and death are part of the same illusion. As long as you are in body, you continue to be in suffering. When you are in light, you don't think of suffering. All you think about is being. Body and death are part of the same illusion created by the egoic mode of consciousness, which has no awareness of the source of life. All it is interested in is the body. It is not interested in the everlasting life. It wants to use the body in finite life for whatever time it gives by the abuse that's able to be taken by the body. Once the body's not able to take that abuse anymore, either it is going to cease to physically exist, or it is going to morph and identify with something deeper that is going to keep it sustainable, which is the subconscious self. So it creates the illusion that you are a body, a dense physical vehicle that is constantly under threat. To perceive yourself as a vulnerable body that was born and a little later dies, that's the illusion. Body and death. One illusion. You cannot have one without the other. You want to keep one side of the illusion and get rid of the other, but that is impossible. Either you keep all of it or you relinquish all of it. Either you think about the aspect of when you're going to die, or you focus on every moment that you're living. However, you cannot escape from the body, nor do you have to. The body is an incredible misperception of your true nature, but your true nature is concealed somewhere within that illusion, not outside of it. When you look outside of yourself, all you see is death. When you look inside of you, all you're gonna understand is life. You don't get it yet, but hopefully you will. If you saw an angel but mistook it for a stone statue, all you would have to do is adjust your vision and look more closely at the stone statue, not start looking somewhere else as far as distraction. You would then find that there never was a stone statue. Your perception of the world is a reflection of your state of consciousness. How you think is how you see. You are not separate from it, and there is no objective world out there. Every moment your consciousness creates the world that you inhabit. Nothing is what it seems to be. The world that you create and see through the egoic mind may seem a very imperfect place, even a veil of tears. As long as you think miserable, you see miserable. When you think beauty, you see beauty. But whatever you perceive is only a kind of symbol, like an image in a dream. It is how your consciousness interprets and interacts with the molecular energy dance of the universe. This energy is the raw material of so-called physical reality. You see it in terms of bodies and birth and death, or as a struggle for survival. An infinite number of completely different interpretations, completely different worlds is possible and in fact exists, all depending on the perceiving consciousness. So if you want to have a beautiful life, you have to see beauty. If you believe for your life to be ugly and worthless, then that's all you see is worthlessness and ugliness in everything and everybody around you. But whatever you perceive is only a kind of symbol, like an image in a dream. It is how your consciousness interprets and interacts with the molecular energy dance of the universe. This energy is raw material of so-called physical reality. You see it in terms of bodies and birth and death, or as a struggle for survival. An infinite number of completely different interpretations, completely different worlds is possible and in fact exists, all depending on the perceiving consciousness. Every being is a focal point of consciousness, and every such focal point creates its own world, although all those worlds are interconnected. There are countless beings whose consciousness frequency is so different from yours that you are probably unaware of their existence as they are of yours. Highly conscious people who are aware of their connectedness with the source and with each other would inhabit a world that to you would appear as heavenly, and yet all worlds are ultimately one. So again, there are countless beings whose consciousness frequency is so different from yours that you are probably unaware of their existence. They are such on a higher level, or they are on the equal level as yours. Highly conscious beings who are aware of their connectedness with the source and with each other would inhabit a world that to you would appear as heavenly, and yet all worlds are ultimately one. You think that your world and their world are different, and it is different, but it is the same. It's just they see things different in how they process being, as opposed to how you think in your existence of living. Our collective human world is largely created through the level of consciousness we call mind. Even within the collective human world, there are vast differences, many different sub-worlds dependent on the perceivers or creators of their respective worlds. Basically, you as the creator of your world and how you think. When collective human consciousness becomes transformed, nature and the animal kingdom will reflect that transformation. Hence, the statement in the Bible that in the coming age, the lion shall lie down with the lamb. This points to the possibility of a completely different order of reality. The world as it appears to us now is, as I said, largely a reflection of the egoic mind. Fear being an unavoidable consequence of egoic delusion. It is a world dominated by fear, just as the images in a dream are symbols of inner states and feelings. So our collective reality is largely a symbolic expression of fear and of the heavy layers of negativity that have accumulated in the collective human psyche. We are not separate from our world, so when the majority of humans become free of egoic delusion, this interchange will affect all of creation. You will literally inhabit a new world. It is a shift in planetary consciousness. According to St. Paul, the whole of creation is waiting for humans to become enlightened. That is how I interpret his saying that The created universe is waiting with eager expectation for God's sons to be revealed. The subconscious to be reconnected to the unconscious and get rid of the conscious con. St. Paul goes on to say that all of creation will become redeemed through this, up to the present. The whole created universe in all its parts groans as if in the pangs of childbirth. You will continue to scream and groan in your suffering into the process of a rebirth. What is being born is a new consciousness and, as its inevitable reflection, a new world. This is also foretold in the New Testament book of Revelation. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away. But don't confuse cause and effect. Your primary task is not to seek salvation through creating a better world, but to awaken out of identification with form. You have to create your new world from inside of you. You can't change the outside world. When you change you radiate more people, and that's how you change, is through that connection of radiation from the inside out. If you are dim out inside, then you are going to project dim towards the outside, and there's no light. You are then no longer bound to this world, this level of reality. You can feel your roots in the unmanifested and so are free of attachment to the manifested world. You can still enjoy the passing pleasures of this world, objects, but you're not obsessed with them. But there is no fear of loss anymore, so you don't need to cling to them. And that's in the written book statement. Although you can enjoy sensory pleasures, the craving for sensory experience is gone, as is the constant search for fulfillment through psychological gratification through feeding the ego. When you are fully present and people around you manifest unconscious behavior, you won't feel the need to react to it, so you don't give it any reality. Your peace is so vast and deep that anything that is not peace disappears into it as if it had never existed. You become the light of the world, an emanation of pure consciousness, and so you eliminate suffering on the level of cause. You eliminate unconsciousness from the world. All evils are the effect of unconsciousness. You can alleviate the effects of unconsciousness, but you cannot eliminate them unless you eliminate their cause. True change happens within, not without. Without a profound change in human consciousness, the world's suffering is a bottomless pit. So don't let your compassion become one-sided. Empathy with someone else's pain or lack and a desire to help need to be balanced with a deeper realization of the eternal nature of all life and the ultimate illusion of all pain. Empathy with someone else's pain or lack and desire to help need to be balanced with a deeper realization of the eternal nature of all life and the ultimate illusion of all pain. Then let your peace flow into whatever you do, and you will be working on the levels of effect and cause simultaneously. Remember, just as you cannot fight the darkness, so you cannot fight unconsciousness. If you try to do so, the polar opposites will become strengthened and more deeply entrenched. you will become identified with one of the polarities. You will create an enemy and so be drawn into unconsciousness yourself. Raise awareness by disseminating information, or at the most, practice passive resistance. But make sure that you carry no resistance within. No hatred, no negativity. When you are around these unhealthy and unwelcoming people, your presence has to be so strong that that dimness will not diminish and darken your light at all. If anything, your light will radiate beyond that darkness, and that darkness may start to illuminate and radiate itself in connection to being in the presence of your light. And it's that simple. We just finished chapter 9 and chapter 10, our last chapter, the meaning of surrender, which means once you put all feet into the water of your purification, you are going to realize the depth of your swimming ability, your maneuverability in the aspect of purity and water and life. Until our next conversation, I wish all of you the most wonderful of moments moving forward until our next moment. And it's going to be another wonderful position to be honored in sharing this evolutionary and humbling word of authenticity and truth to the discovery of your highest ability in being within this physical existence of living. You will be a superstar without emulating a star. This is your neighborhood Sensei Fouché, telling all y'all to stay woke and always relax and don't stress yourself out too much, because you can be at peace as well as be fully committed and focused if you are aware and attentive in the process of collecting and taking notes. Be smooth. 1.